in Possession podcast. After what can only be described as a very depressing international break, football is back, FPL is back, and that is the subject of this week's episode. We'll be talking transfers, potential wildcards, and a couple of neat little picks as well for you all today. Without further ado, start the intro.
Here we go.
Now, if I was to say to you guys, name me some things that you shouldn't drop. You might say a glass. Some might say a baby. But would you say Heung-min Son? After Conte dropped him, he showed up against Leicester for 13 minutes and got a hat-trick. And he was the talk of the fantasy town. So we'll start things off with him. Jamie, talk us through your team. Talk us through how you benefited from Son.
Well, it worked out perfectly. I wanted a one week wonder, and I got it. It was what I wanted. I couldn't ask for anything more really, apart from the disappointment that he was dropped. So a 13 point, I think he got 13 points. I cannot argue with that. Against Leicester, who just look like they just don't know how to defend. I think Ward hasn't saved 50% of the shots on target. That really says it all for Leicester at the moment. But yeah, great hat trick. Reece, did you benefit from Son or?
Obviously not. No, I put him in at the start, did nothing. As soon as he's gone, he does well. I went for Kuleveski instead, so I don't regret it because he's been consistent. But as soon as I dropped Son, what'd you expect?
I think we both would have wanted him when we saw the lineups over Son. Let's be honest.
Well, I absolutely love Son. I mean, never had him this year so far. Put him in for a 1 week wonder. Put him captain. Hat trick in 30 minutes. Living the dream. But it's caused me a bit of problems this week, as we'll come to. But we will start with your team, Jamie. If you can get it up on the screen for our YouTube viewers.
As you can see, I've started with my wild card. It's clicked. Shout out, by the way, to FPL.team for making us sort of be able to prep before the week and not use all the fantasy football sort of transfers. So as you can see, I've already used 7 transfers. I might as well just talk through my whole team. So in goal, I've gone with the double up now of Ward and Goyeta from Palace. So with that reasoning, his Ward's been terrible, like I was saying before, but Goyeta and Ward do have some nice fixtures and they're both very cheap, a total of 8.5 in total. So that's the max I want to spend. I don't want to be going for a Pope. I just think it's too expensive. In my defence, I've got Trippier, Cancelo, Perisic, Saliba, and Kilman. Now, spoiler, these aren't my final defenders because I've literally waited for the price rises and seen what's going on. Saliba went up 0.1. I want to try and gain a bit more money for my team going forwards. And possibly the same with Perisic, but I think that one's unlikely. Probably both are unlikely, but them two are not looking likely to stay in my team. Moving on to the midfield, at the moment, I've got Maddison, Aronson, Andreas, Martinelli, and Zaha. Like I said about the 2 goalies, Maddison and Zaha just have such great fixtures, but these 2 have been on form at least. Like I think Zaha's got 4 goals this season and Maddison's got 3. So them 2 are looking very strong, but I'm also looking at the price rises for them before I decide. I might just go with one and go with a big midfielder, whether it's Salah. I'm not thinking De Bruyne, to be honest, and maybe even a Sterling just to chuck him in. Then with my midfield sort of 3, my front 3. I've stuck with Haaland and Kane from the start, and I'm not changing. I think them 2 are going to be the top goal scorers in the league. So why wouldn't I have my fantasy? And then Mitrovic. I'm hoping his form continues from what it was before the international break, because their fixtures are just beautiful, really. If you look at it, Newcastle at home, West Ham away, both have conceded quite a few. And then you've got the ones that are much more tasty at home to Bournemouth, home to Villa, away to Leeds, home to Everton. They're the ones you really want to look. What do you two think of my team so far? Is there anything you actually want to say?
Yeah, Perisic needs to go.
Yeah, I agree. It's only because his price has gone up for me. So if he goes up 0.1, then
I think surely this week, because of the tough away fixture, he's more likely to go down in value, right?
yeah, but if he goes down in value, I don't lose out.
Okay, fair.
So it's more, it's risk-free for me. So it's more just in case. I don't know. Like I generally don't know how he goes up, but at the moment I just didn't want to make my changes and lose that money.
Yeah.
And then think, I should have gone somewhere else.
I think the double as well, the double Fulham, if they both end up in your starting lineup, I think that's a bit risky, I'd say. Fulham are in good form, don't get me wrong, but I think home to Newcastle, I don't see him scoring, that many goals, maybe one or two max.
To be fair, I'd probably go with Zaha over Andreas. I still don't think your defence has been solid enough to warrant out a non-goal. And if there's a counter-attacking team that likes scoring at the moment, it is Palace, and Zaha will be up front, I think.
My question for you, Jamie, and this might be applicable for you as well, John. I'm counting here 7 players in your starting 11 that are playing actually in local derbies this weekend. Derbies are often tight affairs. Do you not think you're taking quite a big risk without many players in them sorts of games, or do you think they're probably going to shine? If you think, City and United are both on form, Arsenal and Spurs are both on form, Forest and Leicester are having quite torrid times at the moment, but this is probably a chance for either of them to turn around. Would you not recommend swapping a couple of the players out that are in those sorts of games and maybe go for a less risky sort of fixture like a Leeds Villa or anything like that?
Well, I think at elite, like you just said, Leeds Villa, no, not like there's no defender on any of them teams that I'd even consider, to be perfectly honest. But like you said, there was 7, but like I mentioned at the start, Saliba and Perisic won't be there. Neither will be there. It probably will be Reece James, and then I'll find someone else. That's kind of the way it is. So Reece James will probably be in the Perisic position if I want to do that now, just as a sort of to show to you what I'd pick. In terms of the sort of Cancelo, it's not about the conceding of it, and he might pick up a yellow here or there, but he's such a great attacking threat for a defender. I don't want to take him out yet. I think give him until I don't see me taking him out for a while, and I've also made a lot of money on him. So if I sell him, I lose a bit of it. Haaland scores goals, and I think he'll actually be so up for it, like for his first Manchester derby. So, and then next to him, Kane's got a great record against Arsenal. So really, I'm not actually worried about any of these players. The sort of Leicester Forest one, it's going to be quite big, but I feel like it's going to matter a lot more to Forest.
Well, the way both teams are conceding goals in that game, I mean, you're going to get some points, surely.
Well, you'd hope.
Some attacking points, anyway. Attacking points.
So with Maddison. With Ward, it's more Ward's only in because Goitra's playing Chelsea, and I'm expecting a more attacking Chelsea and a better Chelsea with the manager bounce. So that's kind of it. I'm not fully set on that. I could switch Goitra in just to get the bonus points for the goalie, but sticking at that, it's more. That's kind of where I am at the moment. I'll go with what looks as a easier fixture. That's kind of how I'd be. The sort of concerns I have, which I think a lot of people have, let's say I didn't have Saliba though, I'm just going to pick Nico Williams just for someone else. I would only have 3 City/Arsenal players, which when they were meant to play in game week 12, it's either 12 or 13, I can't remember. They're now blanking. So all three of them can go on my bench and I'm not worried because everyone else is a starter.
Yeah,
But
no, that's fair. That's fair.
That's something I think people need to look for because I've seen a lot of teams that have the double Arsenal, treble Arsenal, or treble City, or both. So that's kind of where I feel like my team can look good. But I still am going to be tinkering. I will tinker right up to the deadline. Who wants to move on to their team? I think I've spoken enough about mine.
Go on then.
Well, we're going to Jordan's team. So this is your current team as it is, no transfers, because you've played your wild card. Talk us through it, George.
Yeah, so Pope in goal, he'll concede less than Leaky Ward. My defence, Cancelo, as you said, Jamie, he's not moving. I think he'll be in my team all season, barring an injury. Exactly the same with Reece James, two of the best fullbacks in the world. Now Trippier, Trippier was one I had down. I've got my notes out here. Trippier was a short-term solution for me, with given the cancellations. So he's on my list to remove at some point in the next few weeks. I will probably get Trent back in. I've got, as you can see, 2.4 mil in the bank. And then Justin as well in the last place, good attacking fullback. Now, my challenge has been, as I said at the start of the show, Son was very much a 1 week wonder. I wanted Sterling in my wildcard team. Because of the cancellation, I had to then swap in Son. Now, the dilemma is, how can you drop a man who's scored a 13-minute hat-trick? So I genuinely don't know what I'm going to do yet. But my coin flip is between Son, just leaving Son in there, letting him carry on his form, and bringing in Sterling. Raheem Sterling for us, despite a very bad start, has been our best attacking player so far. He always looks sharp, always in the mix. So, and well, put him in, provisionally. And then you look at, I guess the benefit of that swap is then the money in the bank, right? That's where you then can bring in the Trents. But can you drop a man who scored a 30-minute hat-trick? I don't know. I don't know. So I'm torn on that. That's the kind of big decision for me this weekend, whether to pull the trigger on that now or maybe wait a week.
Is there any chance of a -4? With the
Yes,
Sterling,
yeah.
4.1 in the bank.
Yeah, that's
a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, Jordan, like Son got his hat trick, but also in 6 league games against Arsenal, he's got 4 goals and 4 assists. But he likes playing against Arsenal. You know, he's not going to shy away tomorrow. Like, Arsenal will be devastated that he hit form in the previous game, because this is not a good time now because he's going to be hungry. So I would stick with Son. I personally wouldn't mind risking the 4 points, because chances are they're going to more than compensate for that. But Palace
wouldn't be a -4, would it? If he's keeping Son,
I'd be happy to take the -4 if you included Sterling as well. Because I personally don't think Aronson or Owen will
get rid of Bowen for Son. So that would work. So you can have Sterling and Son. Which I didn't consider.
Challenge is, well, actually, I guess that could work.
But then that gives you an easy opportunity to go to Salah.
But my issue with that. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say he's got a few tough games, but like soon Liverpool come into some great run of fixtures, and you probably do want Salah back in your team, and it's going to be very hard for most of us. Yeah. Whereas you've got quite a good opportunity there having Son.
The reason I didn't do it that way is because obviously I've worked out based on the cancellations who I want in my team. So the thing you suggested there, Sterling and Son, great short term, but doing that would then mean I can't get Trent back in the team. And spoiler alert, I'm going to bring in Rashford in the next 3 weeks, but that might then mean that gets knocked back a week. So I think I'm going to have to pick either or. That's the coin flip for me of the week. And then the next one, obviously, you just touched on Liverpool. My next one I was eyeing up was then bringing back Luis Diaz, because he's, again, someone I wanted in my team prior to the cancellations. So Bowen, again, was designed to be a short-term solution, but West Ham now have a good run. So a lot to be decided.
That's the only concern with West Ham, is they're not exactly scoring goals. I mean, Wolves don't exactly concede goals either. So now that I've said that, it's going to be 4-4.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you got to ignore the Wolves defense against City. Just ignore that game. Like, a goal went in after under a minute. It's kind of that then can happen. Then they got a red card. So they kept 3-0 when you probably thought City could have got 4-5. So it's not actually a terrible sort of one. So the Wolves, but Bowen currently has, I believe, 0 goals, 0 assists. So it is a bit. There's no form, but if you look at his fixtures, the next 3 are quite nice. Then you've got Liverpool.
I was just going to say, just quickly, can you swap Bowen for Diaz for me? Just to see if I can do that with the money, because that might be a better solution for now.
Yeah, you definitely can. You've got 2 million in the bank, so
yeah. So that might be the better option for me, actually. That's probably more what my team's going to look like. I'll probably take the hit on Sterling, delay that a week or so, bring in Diaz early, and then eventually the Son for Sterling swap will give me another sort of 1.7. That then allows me to get Trent and Rashford in the coming weeks. So yeah, that's my kind of key dilemma. Just finally, I'll touch on the front 3. Haaland, as we know, he's never leaving. Mitrovic, you guys sold me on the last FPL episode. He's staying. And my 1% guy, not even 1%, 0.5% ownership. My pick of the next few game weeks, Solanke. I will be staying loyal to Solanke. Look at that run. Look at that run. He's going to get me goals. He's going to get me assists. He's going to do it all.
He's going to do it all.
You've been warned. 2 consecutive podcasts, I've said get Solanke in.
Make sure you save it. We'll go back to it.
You've all been warned. But yeah, as for the bench, pretty good bench actually. Depending on budget, we'll kind of decide where they go. But yeah, that's my debate for this week.
Right, moving on to Reese's team. Now, Reese, you have the wild card, but it's not yet been hit. To be fair, looking at your team, you've got the back 4 that most people would want. Like, is there a need for your wild card?
No, I've oohed and ahed about it. I don't think I'm going to go for it this week, because I think it's going to be better to wait a few weeks when you start getting multiple game weeks, or Liverpool's favourable one, for example. If a couple of the big attacking clubs get favourable runs together, then I might use it then to swap around. But
so just to help you with that, Reece, there is no double game weeks coming up before the World Cup, and you have to use it before then.
Right. Okay.
Like you said, with Liverpool's favourable run coming up, City's as well, it's definitely a reason to hold on and then use it then.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nice dilemma to have, I think. Few players in there. I think the big thing for me is just consistency. All these players, when they click, it does very well, but when they don't, they all seem to fall. So that's a bit of a struggle for me. But I think there are some good options. Even some like left field sort of picks. But it'd be great to see what you think. If you've got any recommendation, if you think there's anybody in particular I should swap out, swap in.
So yeah, I was going to ask, who's your transfer for this week? Who you're looking at? Because to be honest,
4.8 mil. 4.8 mil.
I know.
You're not in it to make a profit. You're in it to get points.
I'm looking to bring Son into the squad.
I think that would be what your team would be if you left it.
Yeah. I'm definitely looking to bring Son into the squad, just from what I said earlier with his stats. I mean,
instead of Kulusevski, then
I would say so. I would say so, because it looks like them 2 are going to rotate between each other. And I'd find it very shocking if Son doesn't start on Saturday.
He's not getting dropped. No way.
So there's an interesting thing there. I mean, I'm not even too phased about taking a -4 point hit if I needed to do another tweak or 2.
Because I'm thinking more get rid of Gray.
Yeah,
Gray could be one. Martinho could be one.
I know he seems to vary on where he is, but is Anthony Gordon put as a forward on here? Is he put as a midfielder? Because I know he seems to fall under both categories.
He's a midfielder. Midfielder at 5.6.
Because I think he's a good addition. I think Brighton, in terms of under De Zerbi, they'll be a lot more attacking. So, whereas defensively, they're not going to be very good. So I think maybe try and play about with a couple of their attackers, depending on their fixtures. But I think the main one for me is going to be Son. Because I think he's going to score on Saturday.
To me, that looks quite like a luxury transfer. You're going, I don't know what to do. I'm going to swap Kulusevski for Son. That's kind of like, because you kind of expect not same returns, but it's kind of, it could be a 50-50 of one of them not starting. Well, I think it's out of three players, 2 positions. So you've got 33% of one of them not starting.
I think your chances, you take a safe bet, given Son getting a hat-trick, you take a safe bet. In my opinion, Kulusevski will be the man who's dropped Sunday. Richarlison, you look at him and you think he's a derby player who's going to wind up the opposition.
The guy who's going to get sent off, in my opinion.
Well, it works both ways.
Like, obviously, we're not picking him for fantasy. Like, I don't think anyone said that yet.
No.
However, sort of my suggestion for you, Reece, would be Gray out, and I'd go for Sterling, to be perfectly honest. I think that's a massive upgrade. And it's just sort of, I think that enhances your team a lot more than a Kulusevski to Son, because I feel like they could get similar points, and you're still not sure who's going to start.
Yeah. No, that is a good point. I think it adds a big important thing for me is I think it adds a player that's playing in a different game.
Yeah.
You know, if I've got Gabriel Jesus already there, Kulusevski, and I've got 2 City players, you know, that's just 2 games, 4 players. You know, if they're both 0-0s, it's one of them things. Whereas Sterling is probably going to do well against Palace. It's probably his sort of game he's going to thrive. So, yeah, it's a good point.
Are you also slightly concerned with the City-Arsenal game being sort of postponed because you've got a few players on the bench who just aren't playing?
Yeah.
So that means you can't have all 3 on the bench that you've got here.
Yeah, that could be an option to play.
So it could be,
or just a wild card in general if I wanted to, just to shape the dynamics around a bit. So it's, again, like you said, it's a nice luxury to have. It's not like I'm in a desperation trying to claw any source of goals or points anywhere. So
no, very true, very true. I think defensively, like you've actually set it up nearly perfectly. And to be fair, strikers, like you did mention before that you were thinking Jesus out. Are you thinking I'll hold him for one more week, see how he does against Spurs? Then you've got Liverpool. What are you thinking in that sort of aspect?
Yeah, I think Jesus, it will be a good indicator how he performs on Saturday, because he didn't score against United. He's, if he doesn't score on Saturday, I know it's too early to say, but I would look at him and think, okay, is he going to be that big game player? Probably not. And with the fixtures in hand, I will probably look to swap him out. And I think there are plenty of options there, even cheap ones, that will get goals. Well,
with 4.8 million in the bank, you can go wherever you want.
Go wherever I want. I know, it's a nice...
Kane down to even Solanke that Jordan's trying to put out.
God, don't sleep on Solanke, trust me.
I'm not. I might even go back for Callum Wilson, because he's expected to be back after international break. Isaac is apparently injured. Callum Wilson does get goals if he stays fit. So that's probably one player I think would be a good bet.
Good shout. Well, there you have it. That wraps us up nicely for this week. As always, let us know your thoughts. We want to hear from you. Is Son simply undroppable? What players are going to shine in the weekend of derbies? As always, like, comment, and subscribe. You know the drill.
Here we go.